Hello everyone, I'm Ben Johnson and this is the Perpetual Chess Podcast. On Perpetual Chess, I have weekly conversations with the chess world's best players, promoters, and educators about their lives, careers, current projects, and best practices. For more information, go to perpetualchesspod.com. Hello everyone, I'm here with Young-Kyu and Christopher Yoo, who recently became the youngest national master in U.S. chess history, and he's been making some headlines for his announcing work in the Pro Chess League. So thanks for coming on, father and son.
Thank you.
I'm pretty excited to have you guys, and Christopher, you've already, as I was saying, you've already gotten some hardcore fans. I mean, I'm sure there are kids, even kids older than you, who may look up to you based on what you've done. And now there are adults who really enjoy your enthusiasm for chess in the Pro Chess League. So thanks for your contributions to that. So, Chris, you recently earned the master title, the USCF master title, for those listening from abroad, is a USCF rating of 2200, which is reasonably comparable to FIDE. So congrats on that achievement, Chris. How did it feel when that happened?
Very good, especially because a few days earlier I actually blundered a rook in a completely winning position where I could have done it there. So. Oh
wow, and it was you were pretty close in terms of breaking the record, is that right?
Yeah, I fell short by a few rating points a couple times, not quite making it, but I finally actually made it.
With 2 days to spare.
2 days to spare. That's amazing. That's great. Well, I hope you're enjoying it, and I know that you're still plugging away. Obviously, hopefully, you're just getting started in chess. So, Young, I read an interesting interview with you on Lichess Ledger, but for those a lot of people probably won't have seen it. So let's get into your background a little bit. You were born in South Korea and came to the U.S. As a young boy. Is that correct?
Yes. My family came over when I was 5 years old. But I grew up mostly in the Midwest. We live in California now.
Okay, and I know that you say you're a chess enthusiast. Did you play as a kid?
Yeah, I did. I'm not sure when I started, but probably around 9, 10, and I played as a kid, but not in tournaments, but not until college, where I played at my college club and in a few tournaments.
Okay, and to your knowledge, is there much chess in South Korea?
Oh, no. I think we found one grandmaster of Korean descent who actually grew up in Kazakhstan and lives in Moscow now. But really, chess is not played in Korea because the game of Go there is very popular, as well as various strategy video games like StarCraft, and also there's a Korean variant of chess called Janggi that's popular, but nobody really plays Western chess in Korea.
Okay, and Young, did you have any games players in your family, whether Go or other games?
No, just me. I play Scrabble. I used to play tournament Scrabble.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did you played in the U.S., I gather?
Yeah, in the U.S.
Did you travel for it?
Yeah, to nationals I would travel. I wouldn't travel to world competitions, but I would travel. Yeah, I would travel.
Okay, and Christopher, we're gonna get to you. Don't worry. But Young, what do you do for a living?
I used to be a software engineer, but I'm retired.
Okay. Good for you.
Yeah, it's nice.
And now you're helping out Christopher with his chess. Yes.
Yes, and I'm homeschooling him as well.
Okay, so I know I mentioned this one on a previous episode, but Greg Shahade has pointed out that a lot of the best young American chess players are homeschooled, and previous guest Nazi Pakidze, who's one of the best woman players in the country, eventually stopped going to school. So I know it's a common thing for top young chess players. So, Young, I was curious how you designed a curriculum for Christopher and how much chess you're able to fit into it.
Well, so we use an online program called Time for Learning. And so that's how he does his homeschooling. What we augmented was outside sport classes as well as other classes. He used to take creative writing with some other homeschool kids, as well as choir. We're not doing that right now, but he has lots of sports. Okay,
and how much time does he need to spend on academics versus the time he's able to spend on chess?
Well, it varies, 2 to 3 hours of they have the online stuff and then augmented with others academic stuff outside of that. But as for chess, that varies from, on the weekdays, anywhere from like 2 to 4 hours a day.
Okay, that sounds pretty good. And Christopher, I know that you used to be in school and now you're homeschooled. So how do you compare the two?
It used to be not quite as much time for chess. I'd finish later, but after I did all my homework and stuff, we would do all the chess. But these days we have a lot of more time for lessons, and with our GM coach, Melik Kachian. He's from Southern California, around the LA area, and he works on mostly positional stuff, but some calculation too. So, but we do most of the positional stuff with him.
Okay, and how many hours a week are you working with Coach Kachian?
1 to 2 usually. Lately it's been 1.5 hours a week.
Okay, and does he give homework on top of that?
No.
Well, sometimes, but not much.
Yeah, not much homework. He also is taking another class, the elite team class at the area chess, and sometimes they give homework, but not usually.
Okay, although it sounds like you guys find plenty of stuff to do on your own, chess-wise.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about what you've been studying recently?
In chess?
Yeah.
Well, I've been reading a little bit about the Dorevsky endgame manual, and we also use Chess Tempo, and we've actually been using this for quite a bit since May of 2015. It's just a site. There's just standard, mixed, and Brits. Brits is like you have to go quickly.
These are all tactics.
Okay.
Yeah. In Brits, you have to go quickly, and if you go way over the average time, you're just gonna drop rating, and some of the puzzles are actually sort of hard. If they're
but
really
you don't
hard.
do much blitz tactics.
Yeah,
he mostly does mixed and standard. Yeah.
Mixed is fun. If you go over 5 minutes, you might not gain as much as if you don't go over 5 minutes, but if you go like 10, 15 minutes, you might drop, or you probably drop. But for standard, there's no time limit, but there's this 3-day estimated rating for standard and the time limit affects that.
Okay, and what's your current estimate on there?
About low 2300s.
Wow,
Yeah.
That is incredible. So, Christopher, when you play in tournaments, do you tend to be a fast player, or do you use a lot of your time?
I usually use a lot of my time, but I seem to be getting better at rapid recently. I'm sort of getting good at it.
But he's still getting... doesn't really matter what time control he's at. He's always getting into time trouble for some reason.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, as a teacher, I teach kids to chess for a living, and I'm always happier. I would rather have a kid who thinks too much than thinks too little.
The problem is he doesn't get to think much in the end game because he has so little time left.
Right, yeah, and yeah, you can make critical mistakes, and definitely need to over time learn the skill of figuring out when thinking is appropriate and when it isn't. It's something I'm still working on, but it seems like it's the time trouble isn't holding you back too much, Christopher.
Well, yeah, because sometimes I play very well under time pressure. Sometimes, yeah. I'm better than most people, I think.
And because he spends so much time in the middle game, he often gets pretty good positions in the middle game. Though in the openings, he's not doing too well in the openings right now.
Okay. Well, that's you can always learn that, and if you know, it always changes, so it's going to require work either way. So, and I'm sure your coach can help you with that as well. So speaking of your coach, I know that you guys live in the Bay Area, which is a bit of a chess hotbed. So I was surprised to read that most of your coaches, both Grandmaster Kachian and I know you worked with Bruce Pandolfini, that most of your work has been on Skype. So could you talk a little about how that came to be? And then I'm also curious how you like Skype lessons, Christopher. So
we're quite far away from them. We're like, for Melik, it's like 5 hours or 5.5 hours or even 6 hours by car drive. Bruce lives in New York, so we just can't we're just way too far for us.
Right. Well, but Young, I was surprised a little bit that you chose to pick teachers for Christopher that you use via Skype rather than some of the local coaches in the area.
So we initially had local coaches. Our very first coach was Emery Tate for about a month or two, but that didn't work out. And then we had until he got to about 1700, his main coach was local. He had small group lessons with a coach named Wei Lu in the Bay Area. And once a week, and that was his primary coach. But then after a while, he got too strong, so we looked for grandmaster and master level and higher level coaches, it kind of worked out that way. I mean, we would have preferred, I think, a local coach, but we found Melek, and he had a good rapport with Christopher, so we decided to go with him, even though he was long distance. Bruce was kind of interesting because from my college days, I read a lot of Bruce's books, and so I contacted him, and we got together at Nationals in Nashville one year, and Bruce really liked Christopher and wanted to coach him, but he had never coached anyone long distance before. So we actually set up Bruce for Skype. So we taught him how to use Skype.
Oh, that's funny. And Bruce Pandolfini, of course, as you mentioned, you read his books, and he's a chess teaching legend. So do you mind sharing a little bit of what type of stuff he worked on? Either Christopher or Young could answer this.
Yeah. You want to tell?
I think he's a little more. He doesn't look quite as much on the positional stuff, more like on the tactical stuff, but a lot of times he plays games with me, or we look at famous games from 80, even 90 or 100 years ago.
Yeah. I think most of the time that's what they do. They go over classic games, and he tells you about positional stuff, as well as asking you to find moves, find tactics.
Okay, and Christopher, do you have a favorite chess player?
Maybe Magnus Carlsen or Gary Kasparov, even Fischer. Well, in terms of chess-wise, maybe. I don't know. Probably Kasparov, though.
So, yeah, those are good choices, and I saw you mention the Kasparov-Topalov game as one of your favorites somewhere. So, Young, one of the things I wanted to talk about was what it's like being a parent, what it's like diving into figuring out the travel schedule for Christopher, and how you make decisions about what to play him in, and budgeting, and so on and so forth. So could you, for any parents or interested teachers who are listening, could you tell us a little bit about how you approach this unique problem?
Yeah, sure. And I think about it every day. Last night I spent a few hours trying to work out his schedule up through the fall. And so it depends on what your current goal is. Right now, our goal is for him. The next step is for him to become a international but that's going to take a few years, likely. But to get there, we need him to get FIDE rating points. So we're not so concerned about the USCF rating anymore. And so I was just looking for events where FIDE rating is available. Fortunately, in the Bay Area, we have at least one a month, and sometimes twice a month FIDE rated events. And so I'm putting those into the calendar. Of course, there's the big national events. We're going to the big spring nationals in Nashville this year. Going to be a super nationals. We're also going to World Cadets in I think in Colombia, Bogota, Colombia this year. No, wait. No, it's not Colombia. Where is it? It's somewhere in South America.
Is it Brazil?
It's Brasilia. It's in Brasilia.
Oh,
yeah.
Brazilian.
I believe that's right. So no, not Colombia, but Brasilia. And that's in August. And the reason why we were homeschooling was not so much the extra hours for chess, but because of his travel schedule for tournaments, not the World Youth in particular, because that takes usually a couple of weeks or 3 weeks out of his school, as well as the big national events. And unfortunately, the schools here in California are not very accommodating to the schedule. So we just decided to do the homeschooling. But this next year, the World Youth is in August. And so it doesn't interfere with school very much. So we're thinking of putting him back in public school, but we'll see.
Yeah, it doesn't seem just that you should have to make your decision about whether or not to homeschool him based on 1 3-week tournament that's important for his chess development.
Yeah. No, it's the schools get paid based on their kids' attendance, and they don't get anything if the kids miss a certain number of days a year. So they will kick you out and take somebody else who will spend more days in school, unfortunately.
Right. Well, I hope that you guys can figure something out. So Christopher, do you enjoy the travel for chess?
Yeah.
You like riding on airplanes?
Not really.
Yeah,
especially, I'm not afraid of them, but I especially don't like the long flights. No, I just don't want to go on them. But short flights aren't that bad, really.
Okay. And what about staying at home?
I don't like airplane flights.
What about staying at hotels? Do you enjoy that, Christopher?
Yeah, mostly, yeah. I enjoy that.
Nice.
I enjoy that a lot, is what I mean.
And do you have like a little group of friends that you get to see when you travel to tournaments?
Yeah, most of the time.
Yeah, one friend in particular on the East Coast you like a lot, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and I know you've been to a couple of Greg Shahadi's U.S. chess schools. How was that experience for you, Christopher?
It was fine. It was good. It was fine to go to the U.S. chess schools with a lot of other talented kids.
Do you get nervous during your big games, Christopher, like when you were trying to win the master title or if you're playing at nationals? You do? Sometimes
a little bit, but I don't know, not that much all the time, really.
He seems to get less nervous than his opponents, which is a good thing now.
That is good, yeah. Yeah, Magnus Carlsen would be proud of that, I'm sure. And Christopher, do you have brothers or sisters?
No.
Okay.
But I do have a few cousins, but I don't have brothers or sisters.
Okay. I'm sure that makes things slightly less logistically complicated for you, Young.
I sort of have a brother, which is Chung Nanga. He's much older, but sort of a Korean brother. Like in Korea, they would call him a brother to me, right?
Yeah. Well, he was our nephew. And he lived with us all through his high school years, but he's in college now. Okay.
And does he play chess?
No.
Okay. So more like a family friend?
Yeah.
So I saw in the Elite Chess interview, Young, that you mentioned that Coach Pandolfini was able to give you a discounted rate and that you probably wouldn't have been able to make it work otherwise. So I was curious if it's a strain for you to pay for all this travel. I know that a lot of parents would probably listen to this and be curious because they want the best for their kids, but it's got to be hard when you start to get better and the expenses start to pile up.
Yeah, it's getting more and more expensive. So we're considering sponsorship or something because I'm retired, but I didn't really figure in all these chess expenses. When I retired, and so it's starting to drain on the retirement fund a bit.
Right. Yeah. And
so we'll see. I mean, right now we can support ourselves, but it'd be great to get some extra support, especially when he does go for the international titles like IM and GM, when we have to travel even more than we are now.
And do you have any ideas of how you would go about looking for sponsorship if you decided to go down that road?
Yeah, people have approached us. Somebody suggested a fan club for Christopher, but I said he's a little young for that. But then somebody suggested maybe some kind of booster club. I'm not sure exactly how that would work, but that sounds a little bit more reasonable than a fan club.
Yeah, I mean, there's sites like Patreon where you can just have them donate to a specific event or donate to a year of chess or something like that. So yeah, I don't think it has to be a fan club per se. Although Christopher, you are getting quite a fan club, especially for your chess announcing. So
Yeah.
so I know I enjoy watching the teams. It seems like you're really a good team member for Bay Area chess.
Yeah.
Do you know a lot of the players, Christopher?
Yeah, especially I know Daniel Narodzinski. But even before the elite team, I heard about Christian Kurilla. So, and I also know a lot of the other players now. Like I didn't know Fike before. He's one of the teachers for the intermediate team in Bay Area chess. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know Timu and Ivan from the Bay Area chess team, right?
Yeah.
And so he knows a lot of them.
And how much have you gotten to play for them? I know that what's your FIDE rating, Christopher?
Well, it's only like 2,078 right now.
Yeah, for the purpose of the league, he's actually only 1,800 and something, because that's what he was back in September when they froze the ratings for the league. But I guess they use a minimum of 2,000 for the league rating averages, so he's technically 2,000 for the league.
Okay.
But yeah, he's gained a couple hundred points since then, officially.
Yeah.
So getting back to your studying a little bit, Christopher, if you study 2 to 4 hours a day, how do you, or Young, if you're helping him with this, how do you guys decide what to spend the time on each day?
We do a lot of the similar stuff. We usually do a chess tempo almost every day, or almost at least every 2 days.
So we've been focused mostly on tactics, and that's always been the case. Although now we do a little bit more endgame, especially as he reads the Durevsky endgame manual about anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour and a half. Tactics maybe 1 to 1.5, sometimes 2 hours. And what else do you do? He watches a lot of chess videos. I'm not sure exactly what he's watching, but he likes to watch chess videos on YouTube and on chess.com. Oh, Blindfold, yeah. And more and more we've been doing, he's been playing Blindfold games. And we do that in a couple of different ways. One is against the Magnus app, Play Magnus app. I will actually, tell him the moves Magnus is making, and then he will tell me what moves he wants to make. And then the other Blindfold activity he's sometimes done is he's played Blitz online on chess.com in their Blindfold mode.
Well, that's only actually a few times.
Yeah, that's tougher for him.
I think the pure Blindfold's probably better. So I actually haven't seen the chess.com Blindfold mode. Is it just a blank board, or how does it work?
Yeah, the blank board. You choose the piece style, and there's a Blindfold piece style. And then you move by tapping the start square and the destination square. Okay.
And Christopher, what age, I'm curious both from a Blindfold level and just if you play it for fun, what age Magnus are you playing on the Play Magnus app?
Usually 11 years, 6 months, or 7 monts.
Yeah, Blindfold. That's Blindfold, and he'll also play in regular around 12 years in non-blindfold mode, but in blindfold 11 years, 7 months.
Wow, so it sounds like you're pretty good blindfolded, Christopher.
Actually, not really. I'm getting better at it, yeah, but I can't really always play really one game fully. That can sometimes be hard for me.
Well,
you're getting better at it, actually.
Good for you. I do think that that's a really important way for a kid like you. I know you've said that your goal is to become world champion. So the sooner you work hardcore on visualization like that, the better.
Although he really hates blindfold chess, unfortunately.
Well, as a parent, that's probably a sign that he needs to do it some, right?
I tell him, yeah. If you're not good at it, then you do more of it. But he's pretty good at it. He beat his GM coach blindfolded the other day.
Well, I'm pretty good at it only if I keep the position.
Right, yeah, but that's what makes it so beneficial. Is it's just the hardest work you can do, and to be the best in the world, you have to push yourself. So it's great that you're doing it, Christopher.
Yeah.
Well, one other question I had for you guys. I think I only have a couple more, but have you had any negative experiences with chess?
I had, it felt really negative when I blundered my rook in a complete competition trying to go for the master record, but eventually I recovered. By a day, I was mostly recovered. So.
Yeah, it's good that you had another tournament coming right up.
Yeah, we were playing almost every single day in a tournament or every 2 days to try to beat the master record.
And do you have any, I know you mentioned that you even before announcing chess for the Pro Chess League, you were interested in YouTube and possibly being some sort of YouTube star. So Christopher or Young, do you guys have any plans of putting out anything YouTube related, or any long-term plans about it once the Pro Chess League winds down?
Maybe maybe I can comment if we make the semifinals, or if we actually make the finals, I can do commentary on that, but we still haven't figured out my YouTube channel yet, but it'll very likely be just about game analysis and a lot of chess related things.
Yeah, he's always talked about having a YouTube channel. We've been a little reluctant to start it, but maybe.
That's funny. I mean, I'm sure that I mean, you've got a lot of adult fans, Christopher, but I think kids, especially as you continue to get older, by the time you're a teenager, I think kids that are younger would definitely love to see you analyze your games.
Yeah.
And it's a good way to stay sharp. I mean, I'm sure you're analyzing your games anyway, but sometimes talking about them can make you see something that you wouldn't have otherwise.
Yeah, I see that happen with some grandmasters analyzing their games. All of a sudden they see that, oh, I could have done that while trying to analyze their games.
Right.
And instead of thinking it was an immortal game, they just thought that they could have won much more easily.
Right. So Young, as a parent, I was also curious if you've had any negative experiences bringing Christopher into the chess world and watching his chess grow.
Well, there's always ups and downs. There was a time when he wasn't doing that well, and I was wondering whether the coaches were teaching him the right stuff. And at that time, we had 2 GM coaches, and they were kind of teaching conflicting stuff. So we parted ways with one of the GM coaches, and then we just have one. And I think that's worked out a lot better. But I think really kids have natural ups and downs, and it probably would have worked itself out in any way. But one thing I know is he always plays better when he plays aggressively, and at that point he was not playing very aggressively, and we got him to start playing aggressively again. And
I played some relatively good positional games, but my best games, but not many of them, but almost all my best games just come from sacrificing or just very good tactical vision.
Yeah, I know that Greg Shahade, who worked with you at the U.S. Chess School, said that you're very good tactically. So it makes sense that you would want to play games that are pretty open. One other question I had, another nugget I came across in reading about Christopher is you mentioned, Young, that Christopher had trouble following simple directions, which you had also read about or seen Magnus Carlsen's father mention. Is that still the case?
Yeah. Chess comes so easy for him, but so many other things, he seems to have a little problem. But he's getting better.
Okay. And are there any things that you think that you and Christopher's mother, like if you would describe your sort of your aptitudes, what are you two good at and what are you less good at? Like where are your natural strengths in terms of academically focused activities?
Okay, well, I'll talk about my wife first. So she teaches Korean and she has a PhD in linguistics, so she's good with languages, obviously. And, she's surprisingly good at chess. She's played very little chess, but, I would say that when she started, or at least when she started playing with myself and my son, she was maybe 900 level.
900 level? No way.
No? Maybe not. Okay,
more than 400.
No, it's better than that. Because I played her. I played her. I'm 1500. And I played her, and she was pretty good. I mean, it's just like, okay, maybe she has some natural talent for it if she actually took it up seriously.
Well, these days it's just not. These days,
Yeah. But
okay.
she's
not that. She was good for somebody that never studied chess for sure.
Yeah.
Christopher, you shouldn't talk trash about your mother on a podcast. keep that quiet in the household. But
and she has a little musical talent too, and I think Christopher has some of that. I have no musical talent. My talent. Well, I studied both math and English literature in college, and so I love reading. I love words, and that's why I got into Scrabble. I love crossword puzzles. But I also love math, and that's why I became a computer programmer. And I read a lot, but unfortunately, that's not something Christopher likes to do. He doesn't like to read anything, really. Yeah. Like maybe some comic books kind of stuff. But
what about chess books?
I not like I like to read them, but I am reading the Dorevsky Endgame Manual right now.
Okay, but you haven't read a ton of chess books. You've mostly done tactics as you've studied.
Yeah. I've done like one. I think that I might have done this a little bit of. I've done a bit of the Polgar book about the tactics a long time ago.
The Susan Polgar book, right?
Yeah, that was useful for me now.
Right. Okay.
I think that it helped me.
Yeah. I read a lot more chess books than he has.
Yeah, and I'm sure you tell him, Young, how lucky he is that he's able to learn without reading books, because we didn't really have a choice.
No, yeah, there's a lot of videos. I mean, he watches those videos, so maybe that's the way of the future. People won't be reading chess books anymore.
Well, I think it's a big part of why Christopher and why this record keeps getting broken and why Christopher is so strong is just doing online tactics is just so efficient. As compared to setting up a board. And obviously there's something to be said for setting up a board and looking at one position in depth, but in terms of just getting repetitions in, there's real life can't compete with computers.
We use books too for tactics, because it's not good for him to be moving the pieces around all the time, which is what the board or even the computer encourages, right? You can try out a move and then, but you can't really do that in a game. So we tried to use some book tactics too.
Yeah.
What books?
There's we've got a whole bunch of tactics books, so we mix it up. Right now, there's a Practical Chess Defense, a very good book. Perfect Your Chess, also very good, especially at the master level. Okay,
well. And Young, I don't know if you want people to be tracking Christopher down yet, but I mean, people can definitely keep an eye out for the YouTube channel, and I'll, if I ever come across it, if you guys ever want to promote it, I'll do what I can.
Oh, one thing I want to say, he likes to sing, and my wife told me to tell you that.
Oh, interesting. Would you like to sing a little song before we go, Christopher?
Well, I already sang it in my podcast.
Oh, you can sing it again.
Okay.
He likes to write songs too. But.
I was just one of the broadcasters in our latest round of the Pro Chess League. So.
Okay, well for those who didn't see it, let's hear it here.
What about me? Oh. What about me? Oh. What about me? She's friends with a good boy, and his name is Michael, and I know they'll go so far. Michael is 26. She worked at a bar, but now she's quit his job. I guess they'll go on forever. Now she seems to forget about me, and I've called her about 1,000,000 times. She never listened. She's always out with Michael, and I know they're gone forever, and it's not gonna get any better any soon. What about me? Oh. What about me? Oh. What about me? Okay, that's enough.
Yay, that was fantastic, Christopher. Thank you. So did you write that song?
Well, I didn't really work that hard on the lyrics, but I like the tune of it.
Oh, you're so modest. That was great. Thanks for doing that. And thanks a lot for coming on, guys. I really appreciate it. And obviously, I think everyone who listens will be tracking your progress and rooting for you. So keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Perpetual Chess. To hear more episodes, give feedback, or suggest guests, go to perpetualchesspod.com. If you like the show, please help me out by telling your friends and giving me a high rating on iTunes. I'll be back next week with another episode of the Perpetual Chess Podcast.